Safety. It's a big thing in the workshop. If you don't feel safe doing something, or you just don't feel comfortable, don't do it. You're the only person who can keep you safe. And if you don't do it, no one else can. Now, the way that I do it is with a glue block and a piece of walnut hot melt glued onto it, and I have a 3/8 nut glued into the glue block. And the reason I do that is it's because it's repeatable. I can put it on and off my little fixture here, and it will always repeat back to the same spot. And I used to do it with like a wormwood screw on the end of here, and after a few times the thread inside the glue block would deteriorate, and you didn't know, exactly where you were. This way it's very repeatable, and when eventually the glue block is done, I'll just machine it off and put another one on there. So you have a glue block. This is a 3/8 thread here, and this screws on there, and I can turn this. I have a soft touch in my live center here, just a little wooden soft touch that I can bring against the end to make it steady. There are a number of these kind of little eccentric chucks on the market. Well, there's one that is similar to this that you notice it has these different tapped holes in the back here, and so when it's in the middle one it runs true, and then when it's in this one it's going to run eccentric. I'll put it off center so you can see that. And when you do that, this is made of steel, solid block of steel. You have to take the speed down slow, otherwise it will vibrate. So you can see by whichever hole you choose here, in the back you'll get different amounts of eccentric. Well, for doing these little pendants I only used the first one. Now on top of that one that I made myself, of course, I have to loosen these 3 bolts here, and then this centerpiece will rotate. So I can position it anywhere I want and tighten these back up, and besides being eccentric, when it's run eccentric, I can rotate it, and that's how I do these little slots here. Now in the commercial one that I've seen, there's a ring on the front here with 4 bolts, I believe it is. Maybe they come in from the back, I'm not sure. 4 bolts into a plate on the front, and I think it has 24 positions that you can rotate it around. So it's the same idea, and that one has some little countersunk holes through in the middle, so you could screw the glue block onto it. Many ways to do it. One wood turner we saw demonstrate. There's many ways you can do it. One wood turner had a faceplate and a piece of, I think it was MDF on the faceplate, and then he drilled into the faceplate some holes with a Forstner bit, just little shallow holes, and using double-sided tape was able to put the little pendant in the different holes and rotate it around to achieve the same effect. So there's many ways to do this. This just happens to be my way. Now I do have a little mark on here, little line that I can line up. That's my 0 point or starting point. And the only reason I come back to that is we drill a hole through it here for the string, and that will of course go through into the next piece. So in the bottom of one, it's not very much of a hole, but there's a hole here in this. So I know when I put this back on the 0, that hole will line up with my chuck, and the next one I drill will go in the same hole. So we're lined up here at the starting position. Another good idea behind having the steel nut in there. Now this is a longer nut, it goes into about here. It's one of those nuts that is for joining threaded rod together, and I just turn down from there to the end, similar to this. This is a larger size. This fits on my live center. So these are made the same way, just by using this, drilling a hole in a piece of wood, gluing that in, then this thread fits onto the live center. And I also have a little Morse taper with a 3/4 thread on it that fits in the headstock, so that I can put it on there and turn whatever shape I want on it, and then put it on my live center, or leave it on there and use it to drive something. Just convenience. So now this I have a number of these, as you can see here. Tulle burl. I think that's another piece of tulle burl. This I think is Pendant. It's a little bit chippy. So you can have a number of them, and the idea is that this one has only been glued on there yesterday. I just roughed it to a bit of a blank there, and snug it up so it's nice and secure with my live center up against it. I can round this down. Now this diameter here is a bit of a guide to me, because when I want to turn this around and just machine the back of it, I have another little rig here that screws on there the same way, and this is tapered, so when I put this in the jaws and I push that forward, it clamps that in there, so that I can just machine the end off there. So remember, if you make one of these, you're going to have some way to get the pendant out. So there's the little pendant. Now this is just hollowed out with a little recess here that the pendant will fit into, and then this slides up to tighten it, and this is got a slight taper on it here, so that it squeezes the fingers together here to hold the pendant. So nothing clever about this. This just fits right on here, and I can just turn the end of the back side of the pendant. So we'll see that a little later being used. Yeah, now, gorgeous. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now we've prepared all of our rents. So whichever material we want to use now to make a pendant, it's the same process. It's just we have a choice of different materials. And it's one way, these exotic woods are very expensive to buy, and it's one way to maximize on your use of them is this way, because I try to take a very small parting tool through this to part them off and minimize our loss. Okay. Okay, well, you saw me use this little parting tool, little thin parting tool, that is made from a reciprocating saw blade. And this is the side that the teeth were on, and this is the hardened edge. So you need to just smooth that off on a belt sander, and then make a shape like this, shape like that, and you use it this way with this side down. And you keep this edge down close to this end because this is the hardened material. And what I did, I put some oil. This is just linseed oil, double boiled linseed oil on the blade. And I went in about that far. So I've left 3/4 of an inch or so in the middle holding this at the moment. The oil And what I did, I went exaggerated. I went in like this, and then I went. So I kept working it a little bit wider, so that it didn't bind. And then to finish it off, I just used this top edge to kind of smooth the right hand side by just tipping it very slightly to the right, and just smooth that right hand side. Now, I then use my little that's all tool to just radius off this top edge here. This is just a little scraping tool with a little burr off on the edge here. And that gives us the start of the pendant. So now I'm going to sand it, and to sand it, I start with 240, say, or actually 150 maybe. 150. But again, I use a sanding wax. This is a mixture of beeswax, mineral oil, and just to keep it liquid, I put a little linseed oil on the top. Just put a little dab on here. I keep them taped to a stick, which helps me use them. Slow down the speed a little bit. And of course the oil and the wax prevent dust. And it's thin enough, I can get the edge in there just to radius off, smooth off that radius. So really oil on its own would probably do for this. Start with 150, go to 240. A little messy on your fingers. The slurry is, in these exotic woods, is kind of dark, but it's much better than dust. To 240. Now we've got 320, and I write on the stick what the grade of the sandpaper is, because you'd never know from feeling it or looking at it. 400. So you can see that I finished this outside radius with it still attached like this. I'm able to sand both sides of that radius. The advantage is when I put it in the little jig just to face off the back, I don't have to worry about the outside edge. It's finished. A little bit of 600. Yes, that's right, 600 automotive sandpaper. And I think you'll find we have a pretty nice finish there. A piece of paper towel. Bring that up a touch. Yeah. Yes, that's very nice. Now, it's just reminded me how oily and sticky your fingers get when you're doing this. I made a little modification around here. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. What you see here on the side is when my hands would get sticky, this little doohickey here that you pull in and push out to lock the thing would find it was slipping my fingers. So I put this on it. This is just a simple little bar like that, just on the doohickey, and a little piece of wood stuck here, and then a little hook down here that this will just hook in like that, So when I want to engage the lock, I just do that and the lock's engaged. And to disengage the lock, normal running, there we are. It's so quick and simple. I think all these delta lays should be modified by the manufacturer so that they're like that, but unlikely he's going to come and do yours, so you can make your own or get someone to make one for you. But it's a very, very nice little mod. There now, I think that's about where you were before. Okay, so we'll continue. Next step is we're going to drill a hole in here. So we'll take the live center out, put a drill chuck in there, and I have an old center drill here that for some reason or other I cut the end off at some point, but I use it for this. It works very well. But however you want to drill this. Center drills, I find a center drill. Hello, what's happened here? My chuck's fallen to pieces. Have to fix the chuck. The center drill self-centers and doesn't wander like a regular drill. So it's very convenient. Now, there. We take this off and we use the next tapped hole out. This one here is the one we use. Make sure the speed's on slow, and bingo. Well, now when we come up and we drill this, I'm looking at the ghost image here. I'm going to turn it off a minute so you can see, and I can see this edge when I look down this way, and I can see where the drill is in relation to it. Now, because these lines are lined up, this is around the same place, I know the next time I drill one, if I have that lined up, the hole will be in the same place around here, so it would go into the next hole. There. Now I'm going to use a countersink to enlarge that shape. And here, by looking at the ghost image, I can see the amount that I have left here when I go in with the chamfer. This distance across here is important. Okay. Now I'm going to have to move the camera so you can see that a little better. Yeah, can you see this now? Yeah, I just drilled this here. Okay. So now, maybe I'll be able to cut that out. Now I'll just put a nice little curve on that. Yeah. See that? But now I have to sand this little bit here now. Oh, same old procedure. $150, then $240, and then $320. I missed a step. Okay, I can do it now. That hole as it exists there right now would be too small for me. I need to pop a regular drill down through it just to open up the middle. Okay. So what have I got here? Must be something about a it's a 1132. Something around that size. Whoops. Just want to go deep enough to be through. Yeah. Messed up there, didn't I? Because I'm going to have to sand it again now, aren't I? Yeah, just going to have to sand a touch there in the middle. Should have done that drill first, shouldn't I? 320. 400. We're not going to skip anything. 600. Good enough. Now, the other thing, while we're running off center like this, is we can put a little design on it. To use for that is my skew. I use this point here, and I just cut a little V in here. Okay, remember that hole is the middle. It's the center. So we've got to adjust our height relative to that hole, not to anything else. And I'll line this up like this here, just by eye, until I get it going through about the middle, from there to there, just about there. Okay. Now I'll just ease that in. Put a little V in there. Like that. Yes. That's good. I usually go actually just a touch more than that, so this is how you realign it up again. Just gently there. There. Now, the other thing, of course, is to sand it. This is after all, a piece of jewellery. We got to have it looking kind of nice, eh? Pretty hard to hold this while it's rotating and get in there, so I tend to do it like this. Just by hand. Just using the little thin edge of to get in the groove. Like that. 320. I don't go for the 150 in the groove here. 320 in. Yeah, this is 320. It was 240. This is 320. 400. Doesn't take much. And a 600. Okay, so we have our first decorative groove in there, and we could stop there if we wanted, but normally what I do is rotate this on this other axis here. I can rotate the center, and I'll rotate it just about that much. It's about 1/6 of a turn, 1/6 of a rotation. That's what this is. I mean, you can do many combinations of things here. Just tighten it back up again, and you see that we have a different center now. So what I'll do on this one, I mean, everyone is different. I want to come out the same point as that is there. Just about the same depth again. And you see I have this one joining that one. Yeah. Perfect. So we just hand sand them again. Start with the that's a bit too fine. We'll start with the 240 here. This sandpaper I've had around for a while. It's getting a bit old and threadbare. I should put some new stuff on, I guess. And 320 and 400. We'll just go through all the grits. Just taking the burrs off, really. Any little burrs that are on the edge. The middle, in the bottom of the groove and that, is pretty smooth. Don't really have to do much to that. So 600 in the groove. There. Okay, now what we're going to do is we'll set it back true again and part it off. Okay, but I'm going to go for a cup of coffee. When I come back, I'll center it up and part it off. Okay, I'm back from my little coffee break. Now, I repositioned the camera back up the top again, and I'm going to put this back on center now. We've done all the eccentric part. Yeah, running nice and true again. Now the next part is we're going to finish off parting this off with a little thin parting tool, and to help support it, we'll mount the live center again, and to help not mark the end, we're going to ball up a piece of paper towel and put in there. That'll give it a little bit of support and hopefully not mark it. Now, Take the little thin parting tool again. There. Now, be a little closer. Getting pretty close now, I think. Yeah. You see that it's not a bad finish. Now we have to finish the other side of the hole. And to do that, I'll just use I usually do it in the drill press, but to show you guys, I'll do it here. And I just put my chuck in the headstock here, so you can see the hole here coming into the next one. And so to do the next one, I'll recenter this back in the same position, line up these two little grooves, so that when I drill the next hole it will come in the same position. And that's another advantage of having the steel nut in there, is that if I take this off and I do a different one and I put it back on, it will reposition to the same spot. Chuck it in. Helps if you turn it the right way. Now all I do is hold it by hand and roll it around on that countersink to open up the back end a little bit and put a little bit of a chamfer on it. Don't want to push too hard because this could be reasonably fragile. Don't want to break it after taking all that time to make it. Well, I think I'll turn it a little bit when I set it back up. This is just a little chuck. Spring-loaded chuck, so when I push the ring along it closes these fingers in. You can see they have movement. You can compress them. This outside is got a slight taper on it, so I can put this on here like so. Tighten it up. Now not running perfect, but it's good enough for me to mount this here. Just pops in. Pull the locking ring forward and I can just face off this bottom here. That's good. I think maybe one more cut. Now, the other thing I can do, and I think I will in this case because doing it on here, it didn't come as smooth as as it does on the drill press. I seem to get a little bit better finish on the drill press. But what I can do here is put this off-centered again, back to number 1. Now I'm going to have to line up the hole because it would never be right. You see, it's way off, but all I have to do is rotate this and I should be able to find the right spot where that hole is back in the center again. So to help me do that, I'll just mount my chuck again and put my center drill in it just as a guide. You see, that's where that hole has to come around to. So now I can line it up like that, tighten these up so that I have it locked in position. And now that hole is running reasonably true enough anyway for me to just smooth out the edge of it. Yeah. Plus, we can sand it. I think we'll start with 240. Look at that, see what it looks like. Oh yeah, looks pretty nice. Yeah, 240, 320, 400, 600. Now we'll put it back on center. Yeah. Now we'll start 240 again. And beautiful little pendant. And I'm going to put some of my 2-minute finish on it. Rub it in. Work it right in. Just sit it down, let it soak for a minute. put this away. This is just some little buffing mops. Wipe this off. Now, use the Deal products. The camera. Not in the optimum position. Yeah, so this first mop is triple E. Number 2. White diamond. And number 3. Number 3. No, cantilever one. There. And there's the back. Here's the one we've just done, and here's one I did just before. So you can see these are pretty little things. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed it.